Ethereum could actually hit $444,000 per ETH. No, that is not a typo. That is a real prediction made live on CNBC by the Michael Saylor of Ethereum, Tom Lee. If you have no idea what is going on in the crypto market right now and why a 120x Ethereum prediction might actually be realistic, stick around. In this video, we are going to break it all down. The first thing you need to understand is this. Ethereum's explosive move is being driven by the rise of Ethereum treasury companies. Here is what is going on. Back in 2020, Michael Saylor used MicroStrategy's balance sheet to buy Bitcoin, including raising debt to stack more. The results? Over the last 5 years, MicroStrategy's stock has soared over 2,000%, generating more than $30 billion in profit. The playbook is simple: trade in your depreciating cash for an asset that appreciates over time like Bitcoin. That playbook caught Wall Street's eye. And now in just the past few months, we are seeing public companies copying the exact same playbook, but this time they are using the world's second largest crypto, Ethereum. Right now, there are two major players who are leading this movement. First is Tom Lee, a Wall Street veteran, founder of Fundstrat Global Advisors and now chairman of BitMine. BitMine is a publicly traded company that has converted billions of its balance sheet into Ethereum, making it the largest corporate Ethereum holder globally. Tom Lee has publicly stated that his goal with BitMine is to purchase 5% of the total Ethereum supply. So far, he is a man of his word. In just over a month, BitMine has bought over $5 billion worth of Ethereum, accumulating 1% of its total supply. To put that into perspective, Tom Lee is buying Ethereum 12 times faster than Michael Saylor ever bought Bitcoin. The second person leading the Ethereum treasury movement is Joe Lubin. Joe is an Ethereum co-founder. He has recently been appointed chairman of the board at SharpLink Gaming, a Nasdaq-listed firm that has now pivoted with the goal of becoming one of the world's largest public Ethereum treasury holders. So far, they are the second largest of the Ethereum treasury companies, having purchased just under $3 billion worth of Ethereum. There are a handful of other companies doing the same thing, but these two men are really leading the charge, dueling it out to become the Michael Saylor of Ethereum. Of the top 10 companies holding Ethereum on their balance sheet, they have a total of $14 billion worth of Ethereum. That is pretty impressive given that this has really only been going on for just over a month. Just this week, BitMine, Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury company, announced they are raising $25 billion to purchase more Ethereum. To put it in perspective, Michael Saylor over the last 5 years has accumulated $80 billion worth of Bitcoin. Ethereum has 1/5 the market cap of Bitcoin, and Tom Lee is buying tens of billions worth of Ethereum. Why is Tom Lee going all in on Ethereum? Because he genuinely believes it could realistically 120x. Here he is on CNBC explaining his Ethereum thesis.
Well, to me, Ethereum's having its Bitcoin 2017 moment again. And to give perspective, in 2017, Bitcoin was under 1,000. But that was the year when Wall Street discovered that the narrative of Bitcoin is digital gold. And Bitcoin has gone to 120,000 now. So 120 times increase.
Tom Lee believes that Ethereum is having its Bitcoin 2017 moment when it went from just $1,000 per coin to now over $120,000 per coin, a 120x increase. When Tom made this prediction on CNBC, Ethereum was trading at $3,700. 120x from that price would put Ethereum at $444,000, a prediction that just a few months ago would have seemed ludicrous, but is now a realistic possibility. We need to take Tom Lee seriously. He made a very similar prediction that Bitcoin would 100x back in 2017 when it was trading at just $1,000 per coin. At the time, the prediction was insane, but it turned out to be true. Tom Lee is not alone in predicting we will see Ethereum at 6 figures or more in the next few years. Cathie Wood and ARK Invest, known for making bold predictions that often turn out to be accurate, predicted back in 2022 that Ethereum would reach a market cap of $20 trillion, which would put a single Ethereum at $180,000. Cathie is not just talking the talk. She recently bought $200 million worth of Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury company. Here she is explaining why.
Ethereum, while it might be higher cost and a little slower, it's more decentralized and therefore more secure. Solana, we think, is probably going to be the winner in more consumer-facing applications. And it was very, very difficult for us to gain a position in our ETFs with good exposure to Ether. There are all kinds of problems when 40 Act funds buy another fund, another ETF to gain exposure. There are tax issues. There are fee issues, fees upon fee issues. There's something called, and this is a tax issue, bad income. If the profits associated with something generating bad income, bad doesn't mean evil at all. It just means it's a tax term. If those profits, gross profits, this is gross, there's no netting here. If those gross profits are more than 10% of the total profits generated in a year of a fund, the entire fund can be shut down. The tax benefit, you'll lose a lot of tax benefits, and you'll be subjecting the fund to a great number of fines, if not actual shutting down. So we can't take those risks. And as you can tell, I'm not deep into tax law, and I'm not going to be able to explain exactly who, what, when, where, why, and how. I just listened to our trading team, our compliance team, our finance team, and I say, okay, I can't go there. It's just, I can't do it. So this is the first time we've been able to gain a solid position in Ether. And, sure, it comes at a premium. But what's different from Bitcoin treasuries, like MicroStrategy, now Strategy, is there's just more utility that these Ether treasuries can offer. Staking being one of the most important ones. The Ether ETFs are not allowed to stake.
Other huge investors are backing Tom Lee's Ethereum idea by buying huge stakes in his company. Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the greatest macro investors in history, bought a significant Bitmain stake in the last month. He was joined by Bill Miller III, a legendary value investor who famously bought Bitcoin early. These are all massive investors with impressive track records going in big on Ethereum. All of this begs the question, what has happened in 2025 that has made everyone so bullish on Ethereum? It all comes down to three major catalysts that Tom Lee explains here.
In 2025, a couple things are happening around Ethereum. The first is the Genius Act is now making stablecoins kind of green lighted, which is the ChatGPT moment for crypto, but it needs a smart contract, so it doesn't work on Bitcoin. The second is the SEC is pushing forward with Project Crypto, which is actually asking Wall Street to move the entire financial system onto the blockchain. Ethereum is the preferred choice for Wall Street because it's had zero downtime since inception, matching what the banks want, 100% uptime. It's also the most legally compliant and secure blockchain because it's recognized in the US and it's the second largest blockchain. And the third is almost all of it is taking place on Ethereum. JP Morgan's building their stablecoin on Ethereum. Robinhood is tokenizing on Ethereum. The custody banks are doing it on Ethereum. So it's really where Wall Street meets, but that's also where AI is meeting crypto. Because as you know, as we tokenize and move towards robots, you need a token economy to control them, which is taking place on Ethereum.
So there are three big catalysts for Ethereum in 2025 that Tom Lee says are changing the game. Let's break them down. Catalyst number one is Ethereum's ChatGPT moment. The United States government just passed something called the Genius Act. This is the most important stablecoin law the country has ever seen. It makes stablecoins completely legal and ready for mainstream use. Stablecoins need smart contracts to work properly. Bitcoin's network cannot do this in the same way, but Ethereum can, and it is the largest and most secure smart contract network by far. Most stablecoins approved under the Genius Act will be built on Ethereum, which means more transactions, more demand, and more value flowing into the network. Catalyst number two is Project Crypto. This is an initiative by the United States SEC to encourage the entire financial system to move onto blockchain technology. Banks and big financial institutions need a blockchain that is reliable, secure, and legally recognized. Ethereum has never gone down since it launched in 2015, which is exactly the kind of uptime banks demand. If Wall Street starts putting trillions of dollars worth of assets on the blockchain, Ethereum is the leading candidate. Catalyst number 3 is that almost all the big projects from major financial and tech companies are being built directly on Ethereum. JP Morgan is building its stablecoin on Ethereum. Robinhood is tokenizing assets on Ethereum. Coinbase is building on Ethereum. Artificial intelligence is also starting to merge with blockchain technology. In the future, AI systems, robots, and automated services will need a way to send and receive payments without human involvement. That will require a programmable token economy, and Ethereum is the main network where this is being developed. Finally, there is the Ethereum supply shock. In 2022, Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake, which drastically reduced how much new Ethereum is created each day. There have been periods where more Ethereum has been destroyed in transaction fees than created, meaning the total supply was shrinking. Over 35 million Ethereum, about 29% of the entire supply, is currently staked and effectively taken out of circulation. Once staked, Ethereum cannot be instantly sold and is often held for years. This means very little new Ethereum is being created, a huge percentage is locked away, and demand from big investors, ETFs, and companies is rising. That is the recipe for a classic supply shock. Ethereum supply on exchanges is dropping fast as price is exploding upwards. There is currently only $80 billion worth of Ethereum, and Tom Lee is raising $25 billion to buy it. In crypto, when supply shocks meet demand spikes, prices can leap higher in a very short time. So here is where we are at. You have Ethereum treasury companies pouring billions into Ethereum at a pace the market has never seen before. You have 3 massive catalysts: the Genius Act unlocking stablecoins, the US government pushing Wall Street to move trillions of dollars of assets onto the blockchain, and the convergence of AI with Ethereum's programmable token economy. And you have a supply shock brewing in the background. This is why Tom Lee is predicting Ethereum could climb 120x from its 2025 levels to hit $444,000 per coin. The last time he made a prediction like this was in 2017, calling for Bitcoin to 100x when it was just $1,000. People laughed, they called it impossible. And then it happened. The question is, if he is right again, where will you be positioned when it happens? If you have made it this far, you are clearly serious about crypto. Hit the first link in the description and sign up for my free daily email, The Crypto Nutshell. It is written by me and a small team of on-chain analysts every morning. It takes less than 5 minutes to read, covers the biggest Bitcoin and crypto news, expert predictions, and key on-chain insights you need to know. It is fast, free, and will keep you ahead of the curve. Click the link, enter your email, and you will get the next issue straight to your inbox tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. See you next time.